and good afternoon. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from livestream.travel eTurboNews in Honolulu. And with me, as always, is Dr. Peter Tarlow in College Station, Texas. Since we always start with the weather, I can tell you it's beautiful here. I can't wait to get out. It's a really sunny beach day. Record arrivals. I understand yesterday we had 36,000 arrivals in Hawaii, what is more than even in our top days. And they're only from domestic destinations. So tourism is booming. The weather is beautiful. And times are changing. I mean, we can see the end of the darkness here. How are things in Texas, Peter?
Well, it's obviously it's not a beach day in College Station, as we don't have an ocean, but it's typical summer weather. It's now warm, about 35 degrees Celsius, about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. A little bit humid, so I tell people it's like living in a warm bottle of oil of Olay. That's why our skin is beautiful. We don't have wrinkles because it's good and humid here. And it's really summer here because of the fact that this is a college town and the school is not in session. So really, we're the opposite of Hawaii. This is more people are leaving than coming. But summer school will be taking place soon. And when that happens, then a whole bunch of students come back again and the city kind of gets back to normal. But I think the weather is really typical of the fact that there's a rebirth of tourism. And you mentioned that in Hawaii. And I'm seeing that all over the world. And I think we're seeing that airlines are, again, increasing tremendously, where it was that maybe when you came back from Germany, maybe there were 10 people in the economy section of the plane. But now the flights to places that are open are really full. And my daughter is going to Greece, and that flight's really full again. You know, it's a nonstop flight. I'll be in Israel soon, and again, the flight is totally full. So it's kind of an interesting phenomena. I think people want to travel, and wherever is open, they're going to go to travel.
Yeah, and this is definitely a trend right now. And if you see flights, yes, they are going full. On the other hand, they also get expensive. Yesterday,
Yes.
I looked at flight costs to go, for example, to our neighbors here, and you cannot get a ticket for less than $2,800, and the flights are empty.
So that's a economy ticket from Hawaii to Guam.
Yes, a business class was 5,800, and I looked at for an entire month every day because sometimes you see various days less. So
yes,
tickets are expensive. Strangely, also to Europe. It depends where you go. Tickets to Israel, for instance, I checked, are quite reasonable. Tickets to the United Arab Emirates are cheap. You can go from Los Angeles to Dubai on United and Lufthansa for less than $800. If you do get off in Frankfurt and come back from Frankfurt, this fare goes up to almost $2,000. So there are some really shifting in price structures and so forth.
Yeah, and I noticed to Israel, it was around $1,200 in economy, but if you wanted to have business class, it went up to almost $8,000. So the jump was hysterical. It was incredibly big, and that was really, you could maybe find a bargain at $7,000, but that's quite a lot of money for a 10-hour trip.
Yeah, I think the vaccination is really the key. Americans are step by step feeling more comfortable traveling. I hope our restrictions will be adjusted, that people who did receive the vaccine have an easier way of getting from place A to B. So far, a vaccination certification is still necessary to enter the United States. The United States is still closed for most visitors. So hopefully with the G7 ongoing in Europe, this is something what's on the agenda and which change very soon.
Well, the G7 has ended now, but
the G7 results, yes, we're hoping.
Yes. So we'll have to see what I'm not sure they spoke very much about tourism. One of the big things they were interested in is having a universal tax so that you wouldn't have a corporation going from one country to another, which is kind of scary if you think about a universal tax. But one of the issues that they are going to have to think about, and the real major issue, is energy and the issue of the the inflation in energy. So that's one of the reasons you're seeing this incredible rise in lots of airline prices, because energy prices are going through the roof. And then there's a whole issue, you know, we stopped the Keystone pipeline, but then we gave Russia permission to run its pipeline into Europe, which has both geopolitical issues and it has energy issues. So I think that's going to be something the tourism industry may have to face for a while. And that is the fact that there may be very high costs of tickets and of airline tickets. And I wonder how that's going to impact tourism around the world. Maybe people will put it in part of their price, or maybe they'll go by car and it'll be more domestic travel, and long-term travel may fall apart. Who knows?
Well, I don't know. Right now, the price picture is really unpredictable. You have
Yes, it is.
tickets within the United States are extremely cheap.
Yeah.
I don't think there have been any lower price tickets as long as I can think of
Yeah.
in the recent history, and people are using it, and flights are full. So tickets are really not going up in price; they're going down.
Well, they
But
are. We had the biggest jump in prices in the last 20 years. Inflation. Matter of fact, Hawaii is one of the 4 biggest states that's suffering from inflation, and that's dealing with issues of food, transportation, medical care, and housing. And Hawaii is doing quite poorly in all 4 of those categories on a national level. I can't speak on an international level, but this was the biggest inflation jump last month we've had for in close to 20 years. So there are issues. Flights are irregular in the United States. You're right. Some places you can get, bargains, but on the other hand, some of the flights going to, say, Texas to Washington are incredibly expensive. So it's where you're going and how you're going. But airline travel did go up about 4 to 5% across the board last month, which was quite a big inflation.
yeah, and I did a little bit of comparison in regards to vaccination rates in countries, and where tourism seems to be coming out okay. And North America is definitely one of the countries where we currently have a total of 37.95% as of today of people received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. If you compare this with the world average of 11.25%, we're 3 times ahead.
US is doing very well.
And then again, strangely, United Kingdom with really big problems with the new form of the virus has 58.85%, what is quite a bit higher than the United States. And then the topping of our major countries, Israel with 63.03%. So it's tourism between, I think, Europe and North America, I think will relaunch pretty soon.
Yes.
I don't see any more justification of having this delayed as it is right now. Tourism to Asia may be a challenge. And we don't know, and also Australia, these are all areas they're not as—
Those are long, from the United States, those are long haul flights. Speaking of Asia, how do you see the Asian tourism world going? I know that we've done some talking about Indonesia in the past, and Indonesia was, in the pre-COVID world, a major tourism attraction, especially Bali. Do you see it coming back soon, or are the Indonesians going to have to come up with some sort of special conferences and other things to kind of make it work?
Well, conferences, of course, are exchanges of ideas, and I think this is very necessary for a country like Indonesia, anywhere in ASEAN right now, to do this. And I think Indonesia is proactive in doing this. If you again look at the vaccination rates, Asia only has 7.24%, and Indonesia only 7.19%, but it's even below the Asia rating. And then you have Bali, what is a major tourism destination, where the vaccine is almost hitting 30%. So there has been an emphasis on relaunching tourism in countries like Indonesia. So we're going to see some, but then again, how would you really do this? You have to go through an area where the vaccine is very low. You have regions in Asia that are stronger, like Singapore, of course. In this case, like Bali, and and um, and there is no consistency in the world. And talking to one of our colleagues in Hong Kong yesterday, Hong Kong apparently has enough vaccine, but they don't have enough options to actually administer the vaccine.
Well,
Vaccine is getting bad. So there are so many challenges in making this all work. And so it is important that everyone in the world is talking to each other to make things better. And even if you look at our own backyard, like the Caribbean, vaccination rates in the Caribbean are quite
very
low.
low,
And
very low.
and I think it would also be a responsibility and in our national interest in the United States to push for higher numbers for this.
Well, there's really in the Caribbean many various issues. One is problems within their national health services, which don't always work very well. In some of the Caribbean countries, you have a large amount of corruption. And so, you send the money or you send the vaccine and it doesn't get to the people it's supposed to go to, or it's sold on the black market or, whatever. And so that's a real problem. And then the fact is that a lot of these places live on tourism, but they're not necessarily taking very good care. And we see that by the fact that the Caribbean has still a very high crime rate. And then, of course, the Caribbean has another problem, which has some pretty advanced countries, but there's some very unadvanced countries, such as Haiti, which is almost a major basket case within the Western Hemisphere. So one of the issues I thought was interesting is recently there was a cruise to the Caribbean left from the Bahamas, and some of the people ended up getting COVID. And that became also I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. Now, the issue is, did they get COVID on the ship, or did they get off at a port and then brought COVID back onto the ship? And that still has yet to be determined. So that's another challenge that has to be looked at.
Yeah, and the interesting spin on this, when I was looking at the press releases in regards to this from the cruise line, they thought it was a positive thing, because none of the people who actually did have a positive result for COVID were actually sick. They didn't even know they were sick. So yeah. They're saying, okay, the vaccine is working. It's not always a guarantee that you cannot get it. There's, I think with Pfizer, about a 3 or 4% chance you can get it.
Yeah.
But if you get it, chances are you get a very, very mild version.
Very mild, exactly. And they've always said that right from the beginning, that if you were vaccinated, you wouldn't die, you would not need a respirator, you probably would not need to go to a hospital, but that you could have, like a cold, a mild case of it. The only problem in tourism that still is a problem is if you test positively, if you test as positive, you still can't get on a plane to get home. So even though you don't feel sick, you're now stuck in quarantine for an extra 2 weeks. And that's a real issue, as you know, because you were stuck in quarantine in Hawaii, in your own house.
Well, I'd rather do it in my own house, to be honest,
Yes.
than in some strange place. And you don't know if you're going to get sick or not and what type of help you can get.
And
But
you're also paying each night for a hotel room.
yes, and then of course, there are tourism destinations, for example, in the Seychelles, they actually put you up in a hotel for 2 weeks, free of charge, and you can enjoy an extra vacation. So if you're vaccinated, chances are you wouldn't even know, so you can still go and enjoy the tropics. But of course, this may be very different in some cases.
Yeah, I think the Seychelles is probably the exception. The other thing is, I think if they put you in the hotel, you're probably locked in your room. I don't know if you can actually go wander around the island if you're in quarantine.
No, I mean, the same, if you're locked in the apartment, I went through it for 10 days. You're not supposed to even go down to the lobby. So I figured out how am I going to do Uber Eats, if you cannot pick up the food. So yes, it's
well, it's a diet. We call it the COVID diet, and it allows people to lose 10 to 30 pounds if you don't die from the diet, you will lose weight very rapidly.
Well, it's still uncertain times, but I think
Yeah.
at least we're privileged enough here in the U.S. that we do see really some progress
At the
here.
end of the tunnel.
It's good
Well,
because otherwise, I mean, this has been long enough, and it's time for changes. And let's see how those that are privileged like us can help the rest of the world to catch up.
well, I think that's a good place for us to end for this evening, and we'll continue tomorrow or the next day. So looking forward to speaking to you. Speaking of food, I think you're ready to go out to have lunch. So as they say in German, bon appetit. Have a great, and enjoy your lunch. And best regards here from Texas, where we just finished dinner. Take
Well,
care.
bon appetit, of course, is the French version of the German, but it's good.
I know, but I had to pull your leg.
All right,
How do you say bon appetit in German?
guten Appetit.
That's why it's better to say bon appetit.
All right. It sounds
All
more
right.
exotic and it sounds more expensive. Okay.
Yeah, it certainly sounds more delicious. So so go for bon appetit. All right, have a bon appetit. Have a wonderful lunch. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Aloha and good afternoon. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from livestream.travel and eTurboNews in beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii. Today, we're going to go zigzag around the world. We're going to go to Paris, and from Paris, we're actually going to go back to Asia and talk about the Asian Leadership Conference organized by Amforht. And we will hear a little bit more about Amforht stands for, what it is, because we're talking to Mr. Amforht, the CEO of the organization, Philippe Francoise, and he is joining us from Paris, I believe. Philippe, welcome.
Yes, good morning, Jürgen. I'm telling you good morning because here in Paris it's a morning, and it's early morning in a very sunny Paris, where all the new summer season is relaunching. And now, after all the pandemic situation, now everything is safe in Paris and a lot of tourists around me. And now I'm currently in a new, very trendy hotel in Paris, just newly opened yesterday. And it's a new concept of hotel with music and kind of a gadget bar and things like that. So Paris is very lively and with a lot of new investment.
Well, it looks like Paris is coming back as the trendy place it always was. Well, I wish
I do hope so.
You know?
I do hope so.
And tell us a little bit about Amforht, because what is Amforht, and what do you?
Yeah, a little bit more than 50 years ago, when the UNWTO was created, when it was first set in Geneva, very quickly it happened that they had the need to have a kind of think tank group working and considering education and vocational training in hospitality and tourism. So they created that working group. And now we are 52 years later, and now we are not only an international organization, but we are as well recognized by United Nations, ECOSOC, and we are approximately more than 700 members, and from 77 countries. And the objectives of Amforht is to gather members, professional associations, educational centers, hotel schools, business schools, universities, trade association, everyone considering and focusing their interest into education in hospitality, tourism, and culinary arts. So we are the organization in the world gathering people around and focusing on training and education.
And that must have been a really important part, even now still going through the COVID crisis. COVID, of course, in some parts of the world, like where you are in Paris and also where I'm at here in Hawaii, we're kind of seeing the end, the end of the tunnel. But there are other parts in the world where it spikes again, and other parts there simply don't have the resources. And so education must have played a major role to help people going through this crisis, right?
Yeah, it's a real major problem nowadays in order to find the human resource that we need all over the world and in our trade. You see, we have lost since nearly 2 years, we have lost employees. Employees left this trade in order to go to other trade, and some people are, now in agriculture, in the industry. So we have lost people. So especially nowadays after the pandemic, we need to gather all this human asset, and to redynamize the human resources in the trade. So it's very important for us, and we are going to organize a major event, and like we do, because we are a democratic organization. So every year we do a general assembly and a forum, and this year it will be in Korea, in Seoul, Korea, and that will be on the 30th of June. Obviously, it will be on webinar. We are not going to be able to travel there, unfortunately. Yes. And last year's it was in Canada, it was in Mexico, Rio de Janeiro, and so on. But this year it would be in Seoul.
And this year, of course, is such a year. I mean, what a year for the travel and tourism industry. So what do you expect out of the Asian Leadership Summit? This is a different environment right now.
Yeah. And we'll do that in a collaboration partnership with the Asian Leadership Conference and the Chosun daily newspaper and other partners like WTTC, PATA, and obviously WTN. And with all these people, we are going to talk and to consider the new kind of generation after pandemic. Obviously, we will discuss a little bit about marketing, but mainly about human resource.
And that goes the education part again. And I can tell you here, where I live in Hawaii, we of course live on tourism. It's our biggest industry, and hotels are desperate to find help. And this is such a strange situation, because during the crisis we had 30-some% unemployment, mostly people who were working in the hospitality industry. And it looks like they're looking for other opportunities. They didn't see an end of the crisis, and now tourism faces another crisis because of lack of human resources. Isn't that, apparently from what I hear, it's the same in Paris and it's the same in Asia, I believe.
Yes, you're right. But the optimistic point of view is that I'm considering all the applying people to the hotel schools and universities, and we have a little bit more people than before. So as a kind of new generation is coming to our trade. So it's not, I don't think it's dramatic, but we have lost, yes, some people these 2 years, yes.
And now the exciting part of the upcoming conference is that actually the public can listen in and be part of it. I know here at eTurboNews, we're going to live stream it actually. It's going to be on eTurboNews on all our channels, on livestream.travel. We will inform, of course, everyone. But there's another step, because anyone who's interested in the subject, whether there are in the industry, or whether they're your members or not members, they have a chance actually to be part of it, correct?
Yes, I agree, Juergen, and I thank you so much that partners like you, you make this possible and easy for anyone to access to our big conference. You know, before, sometimes when we were organizing our meetings, we were perhaps 100 people. But owing to people like you and partners like you are, maybe there will be hundreds of people. And that's a great point. You see that I should say, owing to the pandemic, now we are much more open to this kind of web conferences. And it's great for training, it's great for education.
Yeah, and basically anyone who's listening in right now and wanted to be part of it, you can see the website actually on your screen right now. And
Yes.
go to this website, click on it, sign up, and you will get an invitation from Amforht before the event. And you get a Zoom link, I believe. I assume everything is on Zoom these days, or whatever system you're using. And you can just be part of this conference. So it's
Great. And anyone can go as well on the website of Amforht. Amforht is AMFORHT.com. Amforht website, and they will get as well the link in order to attend the meeting.
Perfect. Yeah. So just go to amforht.com, I believe.
Yes.
Or, you can go to the website you see on the screen and sign up. And we're going to also have it on World Tourism events. So whenever you wanted to sign up for an upcoming event for eTurboNew or for the World Tourism Network, and I can tell you that Philippe is also a board member of the World Tourism Network. You can simply go to the website, and you find all upcoming events. So it's an easy system to be a part of the international tourism scene. And what makes it really exciting, because in the COVID age and in the Zoom age, these type of conferences where you otherwise have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars in time to travel to, really didn't have the opportunity to meet everyone and invite everyone to be part of it. So we're very excited to be able to work with you on this. And I think many of our readers, and if I'm speaking for World Tourism Network, also many of our members are excited that they can join your conference on June 30th. Well, this is exciting times. Hopefully we're going to talk to you again before the conference, get everyone even more excited. And you enjoy your hotel in Paris, and hopefully this is not hopefully, I think it is a good sign that you're smiling and that tourism is coming back. And we have the G7 meeting going on as we speak. So I just saw a press release published in eTurboNew about London Heathrow appealing to the G7 ministers to open skies and reopen skies between Europe and the European Union and the United States and Canada. And I think this would be a wonderful opportunity to do this. And we see how things are going in Korea, in Asia, a different part of the world. I think at the event we will hear from Paul Hardy, who's the head of PATA, Pacific Asia Travel Association, based in Bangkok. And you know, PATA was actually started here in Honolulu, in Hawaii, where a partner area. So we're also excited to hear from them. And there's going to be many more high-level and known people at this conference. And we're going to report about it at eTurboNew. And we're going to be in touch with Philippe to learn more as we go. Well, merci beaucoup, Philippe. Thank you very much. Aloha from Hawaii.
Thank you, Juergen. I'm very excited to welcome all of you in Seoul, but by the web. And that will be on the 30th of June. It will be during the afternoon as far as the Western Europe is concerned time, on the afternoon from 2:30 up to 4:30, and you will get the link in order to be able to be with us. So here from the sunny Paris and the Chouchou Hotel, and you can have a look at that at the Chouchou Hotel. And so hope to see you maybe one day in Paris as well yourself, Juergen. And thank you so much for this moment.
Thank you, Philippe. You have a beautiful day. Enjoy.
Thank you. Bye.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Hawaii. My name is Juergen Steinmetz, joining you from livestream.travel and eTurboNew here in Honolulu. With me, as always, is Dr. Peter Tarlow, joining us from College Station in Texas. Since we always start with the weather, it's a morning, a little bit cloudy here today, but it's nice. Looks like it's going to be a nice beach weather without getting completely burned today. And the beaches are busy here, I can tell you. A lot of people here, a lot of tourists here, and it's going to be a very busy, fun-filled, hopefully fun-filled weekend here. How are things in Texas?
Well, in College Station, it's warm. It's a beautiful day, sunny. The rain has gone away, so that's good. Of course, there's nobody at the beach here because we don't have an ocean in College Station. But were we to have an ocean, people would be at the beach. On the other hand, about 150 miles away from me is the Gulf Coast, and those beaches are full. So I just have to travel 150 miles. So it's been an interesting day. Part of my day-to-day has been dealing with the problem of getting a COVID vaccine. I'll be going abroad in another 15 days. And it is not, I'm leaving on July 5. And that's really difficult because a lot of the places are closed on July 4. When I called to make an appointment on July 3rd, they tell me it could take up to 72 hours, but they won't guarantee you getting something done instantaneously, which is very frustrating because I explained to them 72, if they're not done, I can't get on a plane. And they go, yes. As a matter of fact, I called the Center for Disease Control today and I spoke with them and they said, yes, it's a real problem. A number of people that I called said, well, the doctor has to see you to make sure that you are sick enough to have a COVID test. And I said, I'm not sick. I had no COVID. I just need a certificate to get on a plane. And they said, oh, then you go to the very back of the line. I said, well, then, this is not a good system. So I may have to actually go the 100 miles into Houston, or there is a system now called eMed. And you, for $150, you can buy 6 tests and take the test yourself and take 3 abroad with you, something like that, so that you're able to do it. But I was thinking, wow, I was just in Mexico. It was 10 minutes and free. Now I'm back in a first world country and it's a whole day trying to find a test. So that's a real problem and something that has to be solved because if not, people can't get on planes.
Well, Peter, that seems to be a really very different in Texas. I can tell you here, we have signs out literally every street corner about COVID tests. They're not free, it's money making. And as you know, I came back from Germany. You cannot get into a restaurant without a COVID test, and you can get it at every street corner. So there's no lines. It takes 10 minutes for the result. Now, in some jurisdictions, the COVID test required is not the fast test where you get 10 minutes results. It's the PCR test, what usually can go as fast as 6 hours and it can go as slow as 2 days, depending how busy these people are. And also here in Hawaii, I can tell you, we can get it instantly. There is no issue. And everyone.
Hawaii, you're in Honolulu and it's a tourism area.
Yeah, but let me give you my experience from California, because when I flew back from Europe, my European test was not accepted. But I also think it's ridiculous because it's as good as the test here, and I was within the 72 hours. So I had to stop over in California to get another test. You can schedule it online. For instance, I schedule it with CVS Pharmacy, but all the others have an online portal. You pay the $160, what is outrageous. And I got an appointment pretty much when I wanted it. There was no problem. And the test came back within 24 hours as promised. So you can get on the plane. Now, the problem is it's money making. When I actually got to the appointment, I saw the signs that all major insurance cards are accepted. So I showed them my insurance card and it was accepted. It would have been free. But since you already paid, I asked, can I get my money back? No, you cannot. So it's a really screwed up system. I agree with you.
I will. The problem is that over the July 4th weekend, they're telling you you won't get it. I call CVS. You won't get it back in. They said you might get it back in 24 hours, or you might get it back in 48 hours, or you might get it back in 72 hours. Well, if you have an international flight, you can't wait until that, God willing, comes, and you're able to get on the flight. So that's a real challenge. And I think one of the things that the tourism industry is going to have to work on through much of the United States. Again, I think Hawaii on some level is a tourism area. So that's why there may be more than in the interior of the United States.
Yeah,
But
we need to learn. We need to learn from Europe. We need to learn from the UAE. We need to learn from the rest
from
of the.
Mexico, I didn't have a problem. It's 10 minutes. Now they're and you get on a plane. So it's a challenge. I know that when we come back to the United States and I'm taking a group, that I won't have that they send somebody right to the hotel. It's done very easily and very fast. But going out of the United States is much more of a difficulty. But lots is going on in the world today. As always, it's never a period of too much quiet. There's a lot of turmoil going on in the world. Peru had a very tumultuous election. They still haven't decided which way that election is going to be. Normally, I don't think much about an election in Latin America because the presidents don't last that long. But this particular, one of the guys wants to change the constitution and make it more like Chavez. So that would be a really difficult situation, sure, were he to win. There's also large numbers of problems and manifestations going on in Colombia. And that's really hurting the tourism business. People are now starting to shy away. And so again, that's another real issue that has to be looked at. Of course, the whole issue of Central America, Mexico, the fact that Vice President Harris was told off both by the president of Guatemala and by El Salvador, where she didn't visit, but also in Mexico, talks to you about the chaos that's going on the US-Mexican border and how poorly that's being handled. And that, of course, is a big issue of COVID. Many of the people now being arrested are coming from Venezuela or the Middle East and just taking tickets to Mexico and then trying to illegally cross the border. So that's going to be a big tourism issue for the southwest part of the United States. So that's a real issue. One of the issues in crime that's kind of interesting, the newest crime statistics show that places like Baltimore and Los Angeles and St. Louis are more dangerous than Guatemala City and San Salvador. And so if you're doing it by number of people killed per million or by 100,000. So this is a real issue for the tourism industry, because if crime continues to escalate in places like Minneapolis, St. Louis, Los Angeles, Baltimore, this is really going to hurt tourism a lot. And people are going to, and especially as we approach the summer season, when often it's hot, people's nerves are on edge, and all those take place. But there's also some good news that's taking place. So I know that you're going to talk just a second about the fact that both Spain and France are kind of reopening to Americans, and that they're going to be, hopefully that'll be a really pleasant summer for people who might, assuming you can get your COVID test easily, to go abroad to those places.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And COVID, it's not only testing, we need to get the vaccine out. The vaccine is really the key for everything. And then, we get people resisting it. What is quite, for me, it's quite difficult to understand why. And we're getting reports now this morning from Seychelles that actually a person who was fully vaccinated by the Chinese version of the vaccine, I have to add to it, passed away on COVID. So, we get so many different stories, but overall, I mean, we can see it in this country. The vaccine is working. It helps the economy to restart. It puts a positive light and it puts a positive atmosphere, into this COVID situation. And I think it is absolutely ridiculous that we have to reward people with $1 million lotteries to get this vaccine. And I don't know, it really makes a joke out of what people think in this country, I have to say. And hopefully people understand the vaccine is not important for others to look good. It's important for you to stay healthy.
Yes. The one area that it will have to be discussed is, will they give the vaccine to children or not? We do know now that young men are having some problems, heart conditions, after taking the second doses of the vaccine. But that's basically for young men around the ages of 15, 16. And the CDC is exploring this. And it may not be necessary. Matter of fact, I don't think it's necessary to give small children the vaccine. They don't spread it, and they tend not to get it. On the other hand, people my age or your age, we should all be vaccinated. And if you're over 20 years old, get the vaccine. Under 20, we can talk about it, but over 20, you should be getting that vaccine. I agree with you. And certainly you and I who are in the United States are very lucky, because I think it's probably no doubt the best vaccines are either Pfizer or Moderna, with then right behind the Johnson & Johnson, but the American vaccines are extraordinarily good and well tested, and many parts of the world are using those vaccines very successfully.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we have a busy day actually tonight, what is tomorrow morning on Saturday in Europe and in Africa. We have the relaunch of the African Tourism Board. We're going to broadcast live, so you can go to worldtourismevents.com, find this one, so you can be part of it. It will be relaunched in the Kingdom of Eswatini, so we're excited to be part of it. Also, we have a number of events coming up in the next few days and few weeks. You also find them on worldtourismevents.com. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of speaking with Philippe Francoise. He is the CEO of Amforht, what is a global organization of tourism leaders. He's based in France. And you will hear a recording for this interview now, after this news broadcast. He will be joining us from France, from a brand new hotel, and we're going to be talking about the reopening of tourism in France and an upcoming conference they have in Korea. Well, it's a virtual conference, so it doesn't really make any difference, but it's the Asian Leadership Forum, I believe.
Yeah, you can be any place in the world to go to that conference.
Yes, you can. And we're also going to add this to our portfolio, so anyone who wanted to attend this one, look it up.
But speaking of conferences, I'd like to say that it looks like, it's not 100% sure, but at least pencil in that we are going to be doing a new conference in Reno, Nevada. It's called the International Tourism Security Conference at Reno, and Reno is sponsoring it. It'll be a wonderful relaunch of back to going to conferences rather than doing virtual conferences. And it'll be for anybody interested in issues of tourism security. So that's not one, it's pencil it in. It's not 100% definite yet, but certainly the city of Reno is considering that. So hopefully that will be, and we will co-sponsor it with the World Tourism Network. So it's going to be a World Tourism Network and then Reno, Nevada joint conference dealing with one of the major issues of the World Tourism Network, and that is providing safe travel, both from the perspective of health and also from the perspective of physical safety and security.
Yeah, and if you haven't joined the World Tourism Network, please join us. You will meet people in 127 countries, global network. We started more than a year ago. Just go to WTN.travel. Well, Peter, I wish you a very nice weekend. And I hope you're staying healthy.
I am.
As you say, and aloha from Hawaii.
Yeah, as I was going to say to you, rather than just Shabbat Shalom, I was going to say Shaloha Shalom. Or Shabbat Shaloha. So you have a wonderful, take a little bit of rest because you've had a really hard time. And for people who wanted to know what happened, why we weren't on the air a bit, there were some real technical problems that you can see how tired Juergen is in his face in fixing those problems, but they're fixed, and God willing, that'll be the last problems we have for a while, and we'll be back next week on a regular basis. So,
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye, Peter.